Hey Spartans, so we're moving into project number 4, and this project is going to play on our name tag project and our note and design project that we just finished. So this project is called tessellations. Now tessellations are using one or more geometric shape, meaning a square, triangle, things that you find in like a math setting. Geometric. So using one or more geometric shapes to create a pattern or repetition with no overlaps and no gaps. Okay, so that means your pattern needs to repeat and needs to fit together perfectly. All right, so what does that mean? That means you're making a puzzle piece. So we're going to make a stencil and we're going to turn it into a puzzle piece, and our paper is going to look really cool with all of your designs. So first thing, this is what my example looks like. All right, I'm going to show you how to make this one. I am also going to show you how to make different kind of stencils. So this is the one I used for that paper, and I'm going to show you how to make one of these and one of these. Okay, so we're going to go over a couple different ways you can make them. Remember, you're using geometric shapes. That means always start with a solid geometric form. So a triangle, I always start with a square. I think that's the easiest. You can do a rectangle, totally up to you. So now we're going to, after we have that idea, we're going to use our note and design project, and we are going to, whatever we cut out of our shape, so let's say we have a square, whatever we cut out of one side, we're going to just take that piece and copy it onto the other side. And you'll understand that a little bit more as I show you the demo. But we're really going to play that what happens on one side goes to the other side kind of idea. And since the name tag is really going to play on going off the paper. Remember how we wrote our name and then we just kept going and then we would go back down here? Exactly that. So if it goes off the paper a little bit, you want that to happen. You want to show that 3D look of there's like thousands of them. Okay? So let's start the project. All right, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper. One you're going to cut out and the other one's going to be the paper you take a picture of and turn in. You're going to need a pencil, a ruler, scissors, color pencils, and optional would be either a glue stick or tape and a marker. So the best way to do this without getting overwhelmed is to start with a box. Now I'm doing a 2" by 2" box, but you can do a smaller box if you choose to. I wouldn't go any bigger than this because you want to be able to repeat your pattern multiple times. So we're going to go very similar to how we did the note and design. Whatever we add to the inside, we're going to repeat it on the opposite side. So I'm cutting my box into little dash marks to show me the midpoint of the line, so those 1" marks. And I am going to do a triangle. So I did a triangle on the bottom. And like I said, if I have my triangle on the bottom and I am cutting that part away so we don't have it anymore, I have to do a triangle on the outside. So I'm going to reflect it on the opposite end of the box. Now you can draw it like I did. I just measured it and drew it. You can cut it out and then glue it or tape it to the top of your box. Now I'm drawing a bigger triangle on the outside, so I'm going to copy that size of that triangle and put it on the inside, and that is where I'm going to cut it out. Now it's really important that your sizes are very similar, so you want each triangle that you make to be the same size as the triangles you're cutting out. Now if you're not very confident with that, like I said, you can cut it out and then tape it to make sure that it's going to be the exact same. So I darkened it to show you that is my stencil. And I'm going to start cutting. So I'm going to cut out my stencil. So I cut the whole thing out so you can see the whole piece. But I'm going to actually cut these 2 triangles away. So that triangle fits perfectly on the top. I just made sure. Now I'm going to cut this big triangle out.
and I'm going to double check to make sure it fits on the edge, and it does. Now, before you jump into working on your project, I would do a couple test pieces to make sure your stencil fits into itself. So do a couple, put them around each other, make sure it fits. So now I am starting my project, and I'm putting one stencil, and then right next to that first outline, I am going in and outlining my stencil again. So it's going to become a giant puzzle piece. So although we made a stencil, it's actually a puzzle. I always start my puzzle right in the center, so then I can create that going off the page overlapping look. Then I move on to below it, and then above it, and then I go back and fix the pieces that are on the very edge that you can't see. Remember, you want it to make it look like it's going off the page. And after you have a bunch of them, it's going to get a little bit confusing. So really take your time, look at your shape, and make sure that you're fitting it into the right spots. Alright, now I'm trying to decide how I want my stencil to look. So I made mine like a little kind of alligator, I guess. I put eyes, I made him have teeth. And on my stencil, I added scales. I ended up not putting that on my final one, just to save time and make this video a little shorter. But you can add anything you want. So I'm going in with my marker. You can do this with pencil or a color pencil, totally up to you. I'm doing with marker so you can see it better. So I'm outlining that first one, adding my teeth, really darkening the outside, made my eye dark, and then I repeat. I also want to add they don't have to have the same expression. Maybe you want to make one winking or one have crazy eyebrows. You can totally make the faces different on each one. Also, you don't have to make them all the same. You can make them all completely different animals. Maybe one you want to make an alligator, and maybe the next one you want to make it into a frog. It is totally up to you. This is where you get to add your own creativity. Now we're starting the coloring. You need to use at least 2 different colors. You can use more, but no less than 2. So I did mine into a pattern. You could do those 2 colors on one of your animals, or you can do a pattern like I did, or you can do them all different colors. It is totally up to you. This is also where you get to add your own creativity by coloring or adding all those little tiny details to your own art piece. And this is the finished piece. So I'm going to go over how to do other kind of stencils next. Alright, so like I said before, you don't have to do a 2" by 2" box. You can do 1 by 1. I wouldn't go any smaller than this because then it's going to get kind of hard to add your details and your cutouts within this box. So again, I'm marking off the halfway point of each line, and I added a curved line to the top and a point or triangle in the inside of the box. So I'm going to cut those out, and I'm going to replicate those onto the bottom and on the other side. Now I'm going to tape those down, or if you have glue, you can glue those onto each other, just to make sure your stencil stays in place. Now I am going to do those practice that I told you should do. I am also adding a piece of tape to the back of my stencil so my stencil doesn't move. If you have a smaller stencil, I suggest you do this. It'll help you hold it down a little bit better so it doesn't move while you're trying to trace it, and you can get all those double lines. So after you draw one, you're going to move your stencil over, draw it in another spot, move it below, draw it in another spot. You're just making sure that your stencil fits into the other spots. So all the spots it fits, I made a duck, and I'm adding my details, and that's how it would look. So another way you can do this is, let's say you have an idea, you want to draw a jellyfish, but you don't know how to do it. So start with the box again. It has a curved top, so I am curving the top of my box. And then I'm going to try to make the tentacles. So I'm also going to need a curve at the bottom since I added the curve at the top. So I curved the bottom of those tentacles. Now it's going to take a little bit of problem solving, and you might have to draw it a couple times to make sure it's the way you want. And don't get discouraged if you draw it and then you cut it out and then it doesn't fit together and you have to redraw it. Okay, it's going to take some practice. I've done this multiple times, so mine fit together usually the first or second time. You might have to come up with a few different ideas. So this is me going in and making sure that it fits together. The goal is for it to fit perfectly and you not have any background spaces. So the legs, you have a little bit of the background, and that's okay. But you want the sides and the top and bottom to fit together as close as possible. And like I said, you can change up the faces. So you've seen me do a demo. You've seen a couple different ways you can make a stencil, and here are a couple example pieces that you could work on or get inspiration from. Remember, we're not copying these examples. We're looking at them to get ideas of what you could do. So some of them aren't even the same animal repeated. Some of them are, but they're different colors. These ones have glasses. It's really up to you on how you want to add that creativity aspect. And remember, you do get points for adding that little bit of creativity to your artwork. I'm on Google Meets if you need help. Please let me know if you run into any difficulties, and we can also problem solve how to do a stencil that you want to do. So reach out if you have any trouble.